Okay, folks, it's your buddy Bruno. Yeah, this looks kind of different. Um, this is a live session. Um, it's going to become another in the series about shoe and boot care. I don't know if you can see me, but hi. This is meant for adults because I'll be honest, I smoke. And sometimes I smoke when I'm taking care of my shoes. So, with that said, let me fire up the cigarette and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what we're going to be doing, okay? So, hmm, it's a beautiful evening here in southeast Illinois. It's about, 1835, just shy of that, Central Daylight Time, which means it's about 23:35 or about that. We're using rough terms here right now. So we're trying to relax. But 1835, I'm sorry, not 18, 23:35 Universal Time Coordinated. Uh, the evening's coming on. You can hear the birds in the background, I hope. And I hope you can hear me clearly. I really honestly don't know what you're hearing. Um, we're just going by guess and by golly on this because I'm a one man outfit. I don't have engineers, I don't have cameraman, and I'm making this on a Motorola G Power uh, 2023 device. So I'm literally flying by the seat of my pants right now. The humidity is quite high, and that actually impacts how you care for your shoes and how you would, how can I put it, attack whatever task is at hand. Um, it's probably in the mid to upper 70s if I was to take a guess right now. Humidity, if I had to take a guess, is probably running, in the 90% range. Oh, and by the way, the temperatures I'm giving you, of course, are in Fahrenheit. And hopefully you're all having a good evening. I'm afraid I can't see the chat or respond to it. So any questions that you have during the session, please leave them in the chat, and hopefully before it's over with, um, I'll be able to respond to them. Otherwise, you might want to come back later and take a look and find the video um, as the chat becomes a video. But you can find the video uh, chat archived um, in the shoe care portion of my shoe and footwear care portion of my or collection of videos that I've made. So right now we're just kind of relaxing. Um, hmm. We're just taking in the sounds of the nature around us, the birds that are chirping. And of course, quite comically, we now have the sound of an air conditioner that get kicked in. We have to have a sense of humor during all of this. But in this moment, I'm bringing myself to center. And I'm thinking about a lot of things that have happened in my life. Um, I assume that a great many of you are going to be a fair bit younger than I am. I'm 63 now and have not had my life experiences. Um, Oddly enough, first and foremost in my mind right now is my younger sister, Melinda. I have not been able to speak to my younger sister in over 15 years. And it goes back to a discussion that we had where my father had asked me to reach out to Melinda after my father had kind of put his foot down with her and said no to a request that her and her husband had. I'm the middle child. I went back and forth in between. My parents were divorced. My father started a new life. And by the way, my father didn't teach me this part of caring for shoes. He may have inspired it, but he didn't teach it. This is something that I've had to teach myself. And by making these videos, I hope that something useful I've learned, both by experience and by accident, can be passed on. But once again, like I said, I'm thinking about my little sister Melinda, Mindy. I have a lot of happy memories. But last I knew, Mindy was a member of PETA, and she more than likely would not approve of the wearing of leather or the harvesting of animals for any purpose. And I can respect that. It's just that my point of view is different. I believe that the animals, just like we are, and we are animals, are placed here for a reason. That God made humankind different in that we could use logic and reason and prayer to use all things, not just animals, but wood and iron and water and even the air to a greater purpose that would bring him glory and not us. That's the difference. Even our pets, which are so often so endearing and so full of character. They gain so much from us ourselves that we have to mind our behavior around our pets and mind our behavior even more so around other people's pets. And now that I'm to the stage in my life where I no longer have pets, I actually look around to nature. The birds that come around, or the squirrels that come around, the occasional cat that wanders through the neighborhood, or every once in a while a friendly dog that belongs to a neighbor. And I make connections that way, but I give thanks for all these things. And I give thanks for the memory of my family, and in these moments, oftentimes, the memory of my little sister Melinda. Because back in the day, we sure had a lot of fun. But there's no replacing any of my family. And in these moments alone, with my shoes and my boots, I think of them too. Now, first, a little bit of a disclaimer. to get your boots or shoes, to get from the stage where we last left them over a week ago, which was looking about like this, and I don't know if you can see the polish on it, but where they'd been freshly oiled, and now they've set for a week and absorbed that oil. All right, you can see a little bit of a gloss to it, I hope. But to get them from this to this takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of love. The difference between here and here is at least 2 years. But we're starting the journey here. So we've oiled these boots, and one of the things you want to do is you want to take a new bristle brush. Now this one was new just a few moments ago, and I began to brush the leather on this boot. You're not going to polish it. One of the things you're trying to do is make sure there's no dust on it, and to make sure that the oil that you apply, because these are going to actually be tacky, even yet, but you're going to make sure that oil that's applied is going to be evenly distributed. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the boot, and we're going to begin brushing it. Now you're going to find out very quickly as we begin to brush it. You can see how lightly I'm brushing it. All right, we're not doing heavy strokes. And you want to start actually at the tongue and brush it. You can brush it up, or if you're really skillful, you can actually brush it down. If you want to try to massage it just a little bit, get it to relax. So you want, if you have speed lacing, you want to take particular attention. Pay particular attention around the eyes in speed lacing. You want to take attention, take and pay particular attention to areas where there is a caving, so to speak. Areas like here and like here, because they will absorb the cold. They will hold the oil more readily than the flatter or domed surfaces of your footwear. When you're doing this, just nice and gentle. Okay, go over the entire item one at a time. Now, as you're doing this, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on the screen, but if I hold it maybe up like this, I hope, you can see a little bit of red that is starting to gather on the tips of these bristles. All right, this is why you start with a brand new brush, because that's going to help you gauge what it is you're doing. And if you feel that, you're going to feel a little bit of tack to it. All right, that's the excess oil, the excess black rock that's being or attaching itself to these plastic bristles. This is just a cheap scrub brush. You know, usually they cost $1 or so. You can get them at a dollar store for $1.25 or Walmart. Doesn't have to be fancy, all right? But this brush is going to be You're going to want to keep it. This brush will be dedicated more or less to the care of your new boots or shoes, and it will begin a journey. All right, eventually that brush will start to look like this, and you can see that this brush is stained, it's worn, all right, and it actually has a character all its own, and interestingly enough, it eventually becomes not tacky. All right, that's because you can wash these brushes. All right, you can still use them to scrub, say for example, the bottom of your tub or the bottom of your shower with a lot of soap. You have to be careful. You want to make sure there's somewhat of a non-stick surface in the bottom of that tub or shower, because this will actually lay down a layer of oil and make it slicker. But the soap will help to emulsify and get this out. But for the moment, we're going to use this brush in particular for a while, just to go ahead and move this oil around. So like this is a boot I haven't touched yet. You're going to probably see the brush get a little bit darker, and the polish wax or stain wax that we applied earlier, and it was initially applied to the leather when the leather was being tanned and treated. All right, some of that, a little of it, is going to come off. Now, like I said, you're doing this very gently, very gently. You're just trying to get any dust, or in my case, ash, off the surface of the boot or shoe. Dirt, dust, and a lot of your chemicals, even chlorine, are the enemies of leather. I mentioned chlorine specifically because most tap water is treated with chlorine, has chlorine in it, in order to keep bad things from growing. Well, chlorine kills stuff, and chlorine will cause your leather to degrade. The only water should touch your boots should come from precipitation, should be distilled or at least boiled for a time to get the chlorine out of it. And of course, if you live in this region, or you live in a region where you get snow and they apply salt or urea or anything like that, those chemicals and salt will also attack your leather. This is one of the reasons why you have multiple pairs, because in the wintertime, in particularly the wintertime, your footwear is going to need time to rest between the times it goes outside and encounters the harsh environment of winter. The only exception well, actually, there's no exception to it. But especially if you live in a civilized area, the more civilized it is, the more salt and other chemicals that are being used, the more your leather is actually going to need a chance to rest and recover, especially your footwear. So, now interestingly enough, I'm going to show you this just for giggles, because it's actually going to make this job harder. you're going to take, if you take, or actually if you're going to, if you decide to, you can take a relatively new, and by the way, you're going to want one of these anyway. This is a Kiwi horsehair, 100% horsehair shoe brush. This is used primarily for removing dust off of boots once they're polished, like those below. All right. Horsehair will also gather and accumulate and absorb oil. Just a fact of life. It's porous. It's also very resilient. It also sheds. All right. I don't know if you can see it, but some of those hairs are kind of wild on there. So you got that. And you're going to want a pair of tweezers. I mean, if nothing else, if the horsehair brush doesn't shed, I do. And this will get caught, those hairs will get caught in the seams of the shoe and be kind of difficult to get out. So you're going to want a pair of tweezers so that any hair that you shed, if you're like me, I shed more than a dog, or that this brush should shed, can be quickly removed. You don't want those hairs in there when we start polishing. But just for giggles, we're going to take this brush and we're going to begin to take this shoe. And we're starting, actually I started on the wrong side. I usually start on the outside of both boots and then work to the inside and then across the toes. But you can take, even with just what we've had, and begin to get somewhat of at least a little bit of a polish on this. I don't know if you can see that already, but right along here you can start to see a little bit of a higher polish. Now if I flip it over, you see it's not as high. But if you see here, you can see that gloss starting to come out. Neat trick, huh? The problem with this is that this is still tacky and soft. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep doing this. All right. Now you're not going to get that uniformly over the entire boot or shoe. All right. And sure, wear this out if it's relatively humid where you are, and there's not a lot of dust and dirt in the air you don't anticipate any, you could just keep going through this cycle. But rare is the climate where it's like that anymore, and it particularly isn't like that around here. Now you may note that I didn't start at the tongue. And that's because the tongue, well, as you polish your boots, the tongue of the boot needs to remain flexible. And it needs the oil to feed it. All right. Doing this removes some of that oil. Okay. So the tongue of your boot or shoe is the place where actually dirt is the most likely to gather and to cause wear. It will get waxed on it eventually and take a higher gloss, just as these have. All right. But we don't intentionally wax this. This is actually a side effect. Because when you wax your boots and you go after that polish, like I said, I always start on the outside then the inside, then across and around the toe, and then up. I remove this dirt first, but I apply the wax last. I don't intentionally apply the wax here. This is where the wax actually comes off of this and onto this, and it helps to clean the bristles of the horsehair. It takes a long time to learn these tricks. So let's get back to going ahead and just calming down this world a little bit. Just enjoy the bird song and a nice, beautiful evening. And we're not going after a real high gloss here. We're just calming things down. Remembering that this was a live animal at one point, an animal that was sacrificed so that we may have the footwear that protects our feet. And of course, in my case, I'm mindful of the color, which is red and blood red, which reminds me of the sacrifices, men and women, and of my Savior, who died on a cross. I'm giving thanks as I'm doing these things. Because without the inspiration of God, we would have had no idea how to get from prehistoric man to where we are now. You can see how that's starting to gloss up. I'm not doing much to this, really. This is actually God at work. Think about it. All I'm doing is applying the wisdom and giving thanks. God is making these things happen. I'm just an empty vessel. Kind of a humbling thing to think about, isn't it? God gave me the ability to focus on things like this. God and people and animals. God and everything. And here's the funny thing. Honestly, I hope I get to do this in heaven. And if you enjoy it as much as I do, I hope you get to do it too. Not for eternity, but, just as something to show your appreciation to God Yeah, there's some people, a lot of people, who think it's just eternal light and joy and singing and perfect love and all that. Well, yeah, the perfect love part I definitely believe in. With all our infirmities, the things that make us prejudiced and somewhat self-centered, those things will be taken away because there will be no need or wants. But you see, I don't do this because I want to do it. I do it because it brings joy. It can take me out of a very dark place. Oh, sometimes it's a journey and there's a lot of meditation involved. But we can choose contentment and we can choose joy in some very, very simple things. And believe me, my life isn't as put together as I sound right now. There are a lot of things that need work yet. But if I don't tend to my shoes and boots first, I am in a sad spot indeed. And you can see already, remember I mentioned the hair? All right. That didn't come from a dog, ladies and gentlemen. That came from me. Another subtle reminder that none of us are perfect under God's heaven. That's a funny thing. I hope I get the body back that I've got right now, except for that I don't shed as much. That's one thing I'd like to see changed in it. And the other funny thing is that I've lost most of the hair on top of my head. And once upon a time, when I was younger, yeah, I admit I had a full mop up there. And yeah, I was kind of handsome, I guess. But I don't want that same body. I'd like to be free of the aches and pains that I've accumulated over the years. And I'm sure that'll happen. But hopefully I have the voice, the attitude, the wisdom that I've accumulated, and the lack of hair on top. I mean, anybody can grow hair. Most of us have it for a while. In my case, God decided that I needed more on the rest of my body than I needed on top. Why, I don't know. But I just had more face to wash in the morning. So you can see we've got just a little bit more gloss on these things. And the funny thing is that the clouds are starting to clear away. And actually, you can see just a little bit of sunshine working its way across. I can't see it yet. It's actually going down. It's beyond the roof of my neighbor's house, so you're not going to see it all that well. And I would turn the camera and show you, but then I got to reset up everything. So we're just going to have to let the sunset go tonight, or at least be aware of it, get things worked that way. So, as you can see, we've taken and just moved this oil around. And if you touch the leather, there's still some tack to it. There's always going to be a little tack to it. All right, get used to it. So, now that we've done this, normally this is the point where I'd fire up a cigarette and just chill for a little bit. And it's quite addicting once you start doing this. It's actually, you can get absorbed into this. just because it's so relaxing. But we do need to move on to the stage. So this is the small brush. Now you notice I have two. Okay. This brush I set aside for the boots that already have a high gloss on them. Because if I use this brush on them, this will deposit the oil on that wax and cause it to soften. We don't want that. Okay. So for your new boots, every time you buy a pair of new boots or shoes, and you shouldn't have to that often, you buy a new brush, or you have an older brush that at least doesn't have a lot of oil or dirt in it. These shouldn't really ever get that dirty. It's really amazing how they can actually pick up dirt and then deposit it someplace else. Um, it's just a miracle. I can't explain it. So, let's move on to the next phase. Put these toys away. This is, of course, what it says it is. Lincoln Stain Wax, neutral shoe polish. It is precisely what it says. Now I've got several jars of this, or tins of this, and it may take me a moment to find the right one. This is it. We got lucky. When you open the tin, more often than not, you're going to notice that the wax is broken up a little bit. Okay? Yeah, that's the first thing you're going to notice. The second thing you can notice, and my gosh, I can smell it already. Let me take another inhale. I have a stuffy nose right now. This is just absolutely heavenly. Take a whiff of this. Okay, I can die now. That smell is Caranuba in the wax. And I'm not entirely sure what Caranuba is, but all I know is that the best waxes have it. Okay, you're going to see little pieces like this flake out, all right? And this wax is relatively soft, okay, especially in this humid air. So don't expect too much of this in the moment. And let's go ahead and we're going to open up a different tin and just see how different it is. And the other thing is, remember, you don't need that much of this stuff. I would recommend that you buy a tin and a spare, all right? Simply put, when you run out, it seems like that's when you can't find it. But this is neutral, and that's because it goes over that color that we want. We want a patina. Now see this one, you see there's a large piece and a small piece, all right? And that's okay, you can still use those too. And already you can see that hair that I shed in there. Like I said, I shed worse than a dog. You want that out. I'm going to show you a third tin. This is the tin that I've been using for the last 3 years on the other two pairs of boots. All right, and you can see that it too is broken up, but it's worn quite thin. All right, this wax has lost, let me take a whiff. This wax has lost most of its Caranuba, but it's still useful. Okay, this wax is harder and more brittle. You can see how easily it breaks, just like that. When you get to the stage where I am now, this wax is used for touch-up, for where you scuff your boots or scratching. Um, you can actually get it to, how can I put it? You can actually get it to form into bigger pieces, but as it gets drier and gets thinner, all right, the easier it breaks up and breaks down in smaller pieces. This is why you want to use this outside. You don't want to use it inside because this stuff will go everywhere and get down into your carpet if you have carpet. Now, if you got a hardwood floor, it actually makes it look nicer. But you know, if you've got carpet, forget about it. It will destroy your carpet. That's one of the reasons why my carpet inside is a mess. Because in the wintertime, I have to do it inside. And it just, yeah, it's just the way it is. So already we've been out here, what, going on 45 minutes, something like that? We haven't hardly done nothing but talk. But now we're going to start to apply this beautiful, beautiful wax. Take a moment and give thanks. Now I'm going to take off my glasses here because I need to see clearly what it is I'm doing. We're going to take a small portion of this. Oh, lovely stuff. And you can see it breaks up a lot. Like I said, you even want to do this outside if you can, or in your mud room, or someplace with a hard floor, because this stuff does get everywhere. But here we go, kids. We're going to start applying. Now, what you can't see real clearly is that we're just basically taking this like a crayon and starting to apply it. You can see how it sheds and breaks. All right. Now, if you want to, you can actually take and heat this up with a candle warmer and use a toothbrush and apply it. But you're just basically coloring right now. All right. We're just coloring. And you can see that some of the wax rubs off a little more on the lacing. And that's good. And of course, the colder it is, the more brittle the wax is. But we're just going on the outside, and we're starting with the left boot in this case. Doesn't matter which one, but I always start with the outside. Okay. We're just getting that on there, just playing. We're coloring, but we're just trying to stay just inside the lines. Okay. Now you're going to find that it's hard to get between the speed lacing. Don't sweat it. It'll get there. Like I said, be mindful of what you're doing. Be mindful of all the things that we've been gifted to do this. Now, it's not like you're going to get this perfect. You're not going to try and get it perfect. All right, relax. We're enjoying this. We're giving thanks. All right, so we've got that started. We take that and we put it just like a little piece of a jigsaw puzzle right back where it was. And we cover it up. Even though we're going to be coming back to it right away, we don't want this wax to dry out any faster than what it has to. Because if you leave the cover off of this, that carnauba oil will evaporate off the surface. All right. So we've got this on here. Now comes the fun. Remember this guy? Watch this. Not too rough with this. You're just taking our time. That doesn't look that much different, but already it is. Take this. You can see maybe in the camera in the reflection. I know I can, but that's just because of the nature of the way the lights slide. They're coming towards us. But you can actually see your brush strokes in this. Okay. Now, you're going to want to keep doing this and moving it around till the brush strokes are gone. And here's how we do this. Okay. We've started with the outside of the boot. In this case, the left boot, the port side. And we've got that down there. Now I haven't applied any to the upper right side of this boot. And that's because we're actually applying it here. Now you're going to actually lose some of the gloss that you accumulated because the wax is soft and so is the oil, and it begins to take that away. Okay, you want to be careful when you do this because you don't want to actually scratch all the way through that thin layer of trying to remember what it's called, stain wax or stain polish that you put on there, and it was actually applied by the tannery. But you can go right through it if you brush too hard. You'll start to see it. It'll kind of talk to you in a way. But you can get it to heal. You just have to go and learn to just very gently do this. All right. Now, because it's so humid in this moment, it takes time for this wax to have its volatile components evaporate. My nose is so clogged right now, I can't really smell it. But I know I can pick up just a bit of it. But it's so humid, like I said, it can't evaporate. But we're going to go ahead and take and set this aside now. And this is the one that we applied the wax to in the beginning. Where did I put that brush? I think it's... Okay, sports fans, you remember where I put it? Make sure I get the right one. Yeah, it's the little one. And now, begin to massage that. And you start to see the gloss start to come back. Now, why is the wax important? over the oil. Oil draws dirt, wax helps repel it. Oh, it'll attract some. A little static electricity. But it works more towards sealing the leather. It doesn't seal it entirely, but it'll seal the leather and help to protect it. Now, eventually, and in my case, quite soon, at least once or twice a year, you're going to want to take saddle soap to a pair of boots, as beautiful as those are, with their leather being highly polished and such. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm pointing at the ones that are shinier now. Eventually, yeah, it looks beautiful, it's gorgeous, and yes, it is. But you want to strip it off. Otherwise, the leather will begin to degrade because it's literally starved of oils. The other thing is that the wax itself will accumulate moisture in it, and oils, and most importantly, dirt. Dirt is the enemy of leather. But you can see all we're doing here is we're just gently polishing and scrubbing. And this is a character builder, kids. It takes hours, if not days, to get that good polish on there. But you can begin to see now a higher state of gloss. I can actually begin to see the reflection of my finger already here. But this is still tacky, and this will still draw dirt. Now, I don't think you're going to want to see me do 6 hours of me doing this. But I anticipate somewhere between 6 and 12 hours of doing this, and I won't do it all at once, before I would even wear these boots outside. And to this day, outside of, trying them on, making sure that they fit correctly, I haven't worn them outside yet. I haven't even worn them inside yet, except for to walk around inside the shoe store. You can see. It doesn't come easy, folks. It doesn't come easy. But what comes as a byproduct of this is the mindfulness of the world that man has dominion over, and the planet, and all the things contained on it that God places here. There's a difference, all right? We live on a planet. We live on Earth. In the beginning was darkness and void, it says in Genesis. And the Spirit of God moved across the face of the water. Heck, I think each one of us is like 78% water to begin with. So there's a lot of that in there. And then as we read through Genesis, eventually God separated the waters, and from the waters became land. And can't repeat it verbatim, but the simple fact is, God did this. We didn't just show up. I think we can search for that answer between now and kingdom come and never know totally. And the ultimate answer is God caused it. We can't cause that to happen. Oh, sure, we can go ahead and come up with scientific explanations, and yes, they're probably true. But it wouldn't have happened without God. Without God's desire, he, she, them, for us to be, because we are. And if it wasn't for God, and all the interconnected things, I wouldn't have these beautiful boots. We wouldn't have the bird song. We wouldn't have the beautiful evening. I wouldn't have my instant decaf coffee, the sweetener. I wouldn't have pure water. And all these things are love. And all these things are desire for something more beautiful. Something better. And in all these things, we have a choice. Each and every one of us. In how we care for our things. Whether it serves God. Because if it wasn't God, we simply would. Well, I think that's going to just about wrap it up for tonight. It's now about 1931 on the 16th of June, Central Daylight Time. It's about 0031 Universal Time, coordinated on the 17th of June already. Just goes to show you how far behind we are in the United States. And yeah, I think it's about time for me to wrap this up. I've got a lot of polishing to do. Just remember to relax. You're going to make mistakes. I have. We all do. And that's why God sent Christ to shed his blood for us. Now, when we make mistakes, shining our boots, okay, well, it doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't really hurt the animal. It doesn't hurt anything. It just takes time to fix. Those are very little sins. And precious little blood is shed. But if we disregard God and the gifts and the wisdom that he's passed down to us, if we disregard his laws or figure that ultimately law doesn't apply to us, and a lot more of his blood is shed. And I think about that a lot. I know I've broken laws in one way, shape, or form, and another. I know I've broken various of the 10 Commandments in one way, shape, or form or another. I'll never be able to fully recover from those sins except by Christ. But I try to be mindful of the blood that was shed, that I might see heaven. I'm still trying to be a better person, more kind and more mindful of those around me. And I have miles to go before I reach there. But these are some of the things I think about as I humble myself and give thanks. Well, I think that's going to be it for the video tonight. I need to eat supper at some point. I hope you've learned something in this time. And I hope you're having a beautiful evening. A beautiful day wherever you are. So, until the next time, I wish you good luck and Godspeed. And we'll see you around town.